Hello, everyone.
Hi,
you
guys.
know what time it is.
Yes.
It's Marriage Matters time.
Marriage Matters.
No, I was watching. I got a free subscription to XM, so I was listening to talk radio.
Okay.
And I was laughing at Al Sharpton. His talk show came on. He was like, "You know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton time." So I was trying to steal his intro, but. Welcome to Marriage Matters.
Welcome.
For those of you who are watching for the very first time, my name is Glenn Coleman, and this beautiful young lady sitting to my right.
Yes.
Not too young, though. I mean, we comparable in age. Don't think that I'm, but your name is?
Tanya Coleman.
Yeah. You know, people used to think, I'm not even going to say that.
Don't go there, please, because that was just so not, yeah.
Okay, anyway. Well, welcome to Marriage Matters. This is a show where we talk about all things marriage and relationships.
Yes.
Well, we like to give you tips and tricks.
Yes.
That's right, tricks to help you succeed, not only in your marriage, but in life in general.
Yes, insights.
Insights. There you go. Yeah. So today, first of all, before we get started, I just want to shout out everybody who have been supporting Marriage Matters.
Yes, absolutely.
Look, I mean, we're just so excited. One of the greatest compliments I think that we get, matter of fact, shout out to Miss Lucy. What's Miss Lucy? I don't even know Miss Lucy's last name. You know what I'm talking about? That goes to church, Lucy?
I know Miss Lucy Vincent, I believe. I hope that's correct.
Anyway, Miss Lucy, you know who you are.
I was thinking.
You know who you are. But anyway, and I get this comment a lot. She said, I really wish that I had something like this.
Wow.
Growing up.
Yeah.
Or, getting married or what have you. And I've heard other people say that, who maybe, I had she's one of my aunts. She told me, she's like, I think they've been married like 40 years or something like that. So for them to say that, I'm like, you think you got it all figured out, right?
Right.
But she's like, man, I really wish I had something like that when I first got married.
Right, yeah.
And she says she watches it now and she gets a lot out of it, but you got what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. We're open to whatever. I'm going to throw this out there. We're available. If you want us to come to your church or your organization or your small group or your whatever event, we're available to come and speak.
Absolutely.
So we just wanted to throw that out there, throw that into the atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get into today's topic. Today we're talking about grace to grow.
Grace to grow. I love it.
Grace to grow. Because here's the deal, guys, is if you're not growing, then you're dying, right? And I don't mean that to sound morbid. Is that the word? Right? Morbid. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is that we always should constantly be getting better. And we've said it before on this show that I am not the same man that Tanya married 18 years ago.
Yeah.
She's not the same woman that I married 18 years ago.
Absolutely.
And so there's some growth that should take place, that must take place.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm 40 years old now. Believe it or not, I know I look good for 40.
You do.
But I cannot, if I, at 40 years old, if I was still doing and pursuing the things that 22-year-old Glenn was pursuing, I mean, that just wouldn't be a good look.
Right.
You got what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You
become stuck and stagnant behind where, God wants you to be, at this time and phase in your life.
Yeah. So you should be growing as an individual, and you should be growing in your marriage.
Absolutely.
But I think a lot of times we don't allow each other the grace or the opportunity to grow, because a lot of times, here's the truth of it, is that if you're growing and you're changing, guess what?
Come on.
That means I'm probably going to have to grow, and I'm probably going to have to change.
Yeah.
And
they're typically just like, in life, and when you're younger, you're becoming older, there are growing pains with growth and change, and so everyone has to make adjustments. Everyone has to make shifts. And everyone has to be willing to be in it, for the long haul.
There's an episode of King of Queens. It's another one of my, I guess, guilty. It's not a guilty pleasure, but I like that sitcom. But there's an episode where Carrie is like, this the wife. She's like, I want to go like to the opera and go to a play and Doug, the husband, he's over there watching like some type of lumberjack cutting down tree competition or something, and she's like, what are we doing? What are we? It's like, shouldn't we be growing and
doing
evolving
new things?
Yeah, and he was just like, I'm cool with this, and that can be a frustrating thing in your marriage when your spouse, when your spouse is, wanting to pursue things like pursuing maybe another degree or just pursuing advancement in their career, and you're like, I've been having this job for. I've been at this job. I've been getting this pay. I've been in this position for 18 years, and I'm okay with that. So let's talk to the people. I'm gonna let you talk.
Okay.
How do you deal with that? So if I'm that husband, which I hope I'm not, who I'm just stuck in my ways and I don't want to change, and I like things, which I am that, I guess for some I like.
I like how you say, I hope, but
I think I do pretty well at.
You do.
Okay, but
you've gotten better, and I'm going to talk about that.
Okay, so go. Let me let you be quiet. And let you talk then.
So you bring that up. I remember even as a younger couple, because I like to go out. I like to go not out like out, but
she like to go out.
No, I do not. That's old and
in
dead.
The club. No. Showing love. Nah, I'm just joking.
No. But go out and about throughout, just go to the park, go out to eat. And when we go on vacation, I like to sightsee and all of these different things. And Glenn is more of a homebody. He's good if it's just he and I. Now he and I and the girls, and so he's not one to, it's nice and pretty outside. Let's go out and make a day of it. It's just like, for what? I'm tired. Why? And so I remember saying, hey, can we go to the park? Can we go take a walk? You want to go catch a movie? And it's kind of like, and so it was kind of like pulling you sometimes when you were in that mode of just like, I just want to be at home. I just want to chill. Then we go on vacation. I'm like, oh, let's go and see this. I'm looking up restaurants. I'm looking up things to do. And it's just like, but we're on vacation. I'm like, exactly. We're on vacation. We need to get out and about. It's like vacation's to rest. Okay, but it's also to have a good time.
No. I hear
so
you.
That's that, a part of that, your spouse wanting to do something. And it is, to me, when you go out, especially when you travel, you are seeing new things and having new experiences. So you are growing, and so that's just a side of your personality that we've had to work with, over the years.
But okay, that's good. But let's talk deeper. I know, that's not important. But I'm talking like just career ambition.
Okay.
I want to conquer the world. But my spouse is like, I'm not necessarily.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay. So your question was, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so how do you think, what do you do when one spouse has all of this ambition and wants to do all these great things, but the other spouse is kind of like, I'm okay with a mediocre. I'm okay with going to work every day, going to work, working 40 hours a week, and coming home, cutting the grass.
Gotcha.
I'm good with that. The other spouse is like, I want to start a business. I want to grow this business to be, a multi-million-dollar business. I want to have employees. I want to expand the business to different cities. I want to expand to different countries, or I want to be the president of the United States. Just imagine. Think about this. If I'm not using Donald Trump and Melania Trump. Not because I have anything against them. I'm using it because they pretty much were already kind of well known.
Okay.
But when you think about somebody like a Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, who grew up south side of Chicago, pretty normal life, so what if when Barack says, I want to run for president, Michelle's like, you know what, I don't, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So when I say, maybe that's not a great example. I don't know. But you got what I'm saying.
I do.
Let's talk about that. How do you work through that?
I think for the spouse who has great ambition, or they have vision and they have goals that they want to pursue, I think that spouse, especially if you're talking educationally, if you're talking as far as your career, making those advancements, go for it. You know what I'm saying? If your spouse isn't of that nature, that personality, then you seeing you do it may inspire them, it may prompt them. If you're wanting to start a business or a ministry and you're wanting to do it with your spouse, then I think that may be a little more difficult because it's not so independent. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Me getting an advanced degree, or me pursuing promotions on my job, that's pretty independent on myself. But if I'm wanting to start a business, and maybe the family may possibly have to sacrifice because I want to start a business, that can be more challenging. And so for me, it would be prayer, definitely prayer. Having a plan that I can present to my spouse, and letting them know how much I value their support, and would hope that they would give the support that I'm seeking. I don't know if that answers the question that you're asking.
I guess, yeah, it does. And I guess I can speak, and we've used this on the show before, just because I want to give you guys just some tangible things, mm-hmm. because I know that happens a lot where mm-hmm. you have one spouse who's really, trying to. I'm thinking of one couple now. He wants to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And he just has an entrepreneurial spirit, mm-hmm. but she's like, you need a job. Mm-hmm. So how do you rectify that? Mm-hmm. And so I guess for me, it goes back to that grace. It goes mm-hmm. back to, what if the tables were turned, if the mm-hmm. shoes were switched, how would you want your spouse to respond
to you?
And so I think it takes both spouses, really. And man, I don't know if we got time to get into all this, but a lot of that, it goes back to your family of origin and mm-hmm. how you were raised. And mm-hmm. so I think talking. Here's the thing: communication. We talk about it all the time. Right. Communicate about mm-hmm. Everything often. How I said?
Communicate
everything
about everything
all the time
mm-hmm.
is another one. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what I said, but anyway, communicate about everything all the time. But my thing is, a lot of times in those situations when one spouse wants to do this, one spouse, it's like we come to the head mm-hmm. and we say, one spouse is saying, "You're not gonna do that." The other spouse says, "I'm gonna do that." Mm-hmm. Instead of taking the time to talk through right. it. And really be open to hear your spouse's perspective. So in other words, if I'm the spouse that wants to do the business and start the business, and my spouse is like, well, no, we don't do that. You need to keep your job. I want the security. Blah blah blah. Let's talk about that. So why do you feel so strongly about me keeping this job? What is it? And just talk through that. And it could be some deeper things going on. So my point is, I think part of that is just really, again, giving each other grace, allowing for space, allowing your spouse space to really put their feelings and their thoughts on the table mm-hmm. and be open to everything that your spouse is saying.
Be open to or be accepting of. There's a difference.
Okay, well, what's the difference?
Well, when I'm open to, what I hear you saying is be open to hearing what your spouse is saying and have an open mind to hear what they're saying. But accepting is more of agreeing. And so we have to make sure that we're both seeing the full picture in order to really come into agreement, because you mentioned something that's huge, and for women, security is big. Mm-hmm. So especially when you have the responsibilities of, of your home and your children and all of these things. And so it's important to communicate the full picture, communicate the vision, and plan of action for pursuing the dream. Like you can't just say I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice tomorrow. Well, guess what? The mortgage is still due next month.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to really, and yes, we are faith believers, but we have to be responsible, and God wants us to be responsible, and He wants us to be good stewards.
Yeah.
You know, so we have to make sure that we are looking at the full picture and that there's a plan in place. I think that more spouses, male or female, will be more open to the pursuing of the vision if you have a plan in place and you say, okay, so for the next 6 months or for the next year, we need to sacrifice in this area so that we can build up our resources so that when I make the leap, we're more prepared.
Okay. And I was going to say that too. I think, and that's why it's so important that you got to communicate these things and be open and honest. You know, even about, you know, your job, you know, well, I don't know if I should say this on social media yet. But I talk to her about what I'm feeling. I try my best to. You know, that's one area I know I'm still working through, vulnerability and being open and honest. But she said something key is having a plan. And I'm not just, you know, there's a couple that we follow on Facebook, on social media, Kevin and Melissa Fredericks, Kevin on stage. And I remember Melissa saying that, you know, Kevin, like in the early days, Tyler Perry was like a big influence on him because he did plays. Right. Kevin did, just like Tyler Perry or whatever. And I can remember her saying that Kev would say, well, you know, Tyler Perry was homeless. You know, but, you know, it was about pursuing the dream. You know, he lived in his car. And she was like, that's cool with Tyler Perry, but I ain't living in no car.
Right, he lived in his car by himself.
Exactly.
Not with his wife and kids.
So, but having a plan, you know, having a plan of action, say, you know, like you said, here's what, you know, and I mean, there's another, I'll tell us one other thing, but a podcast I listen to a lot is How I Built That. And I can't remember, I know it was Bar Fitness, I think. And the couple that founded that company, she said that, you know, she came home one day and her husband she said like, it was just a spreadsheet of, you know, if we sold this car and we sold the house and we did all these things and we moved over here, we have 2 years or a year worth of income to live off of, and you know, so you're right. He had a plan. Yeah. And so I think it's so part of vision, and that's why it's so important for spouses to dream together. Yep. To dream, to talk about the future together, so you guys can both see where you fit in and give your input of where you're going as a couple. Right. So that's one aspect of this thing that I want to, where we're at on time. Okay, I want to talk about one other area. Okay. But the other area of grace I want to talk about is giving your spouse the grace to make mistakes. The grace. You know, we had an opportunity today. I don't know if I'm going to tell, but the grace to make mistakes.
When I went over the hump, when I was driving,
I wasn't going to say it. Okay, so, and it wasn't anything big, but some people may get mad about that.
Right, and start hollering and fussing, and you ain't see that hump.
Right, so we were going to get some lunch, and there was this part of the parking lot, you know, like the sidewalk part. It wasn't the sidewalk, but it's like the I don't know what it's called.
I don't know what it's called, but it's like an oval shape with grass in the middle.
Man, I'm lost for words.
I have no idea.
But anyway.
I thought it was just decorations.
No, it's part of the sidewalk. It's the curb. That's what I was looking for. The curb. And there's this huge part that's coming out, you know.
It's huge.
Huge. And so Tanya turns into the parking lot, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. And she's like, what? And she goes over this thing, and it's like the car goes up and falls, boom. And so Bane's in the back, what's going on? And it was a whole thing. And all I could do.
In my defense, though, this parking lot is small, one.
Okay.
And it was full, and so I'm looking at the cars that are parked, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't get too close to the truck that was parked there. Okay. In my defense. And so I didn't see
I'm not doing any accusations, so you don't have to come to your defense. But my point is, all I could do was just laugh. You know, because I remember that was the time I did something like that. Remember I told you about the time when I ran over the hump back in the day? But it was way back in the day, you know. It was a long time. But I'm just joking. But anyway, look how she's looking now. I love you.
I love you too.
I love you. But it's giving each other opportunity or giving each other space to make mistakes. Because we're not perfect. And so, you know, one thing, and that's, not just with our spouse, but that's one area that I've been really trying to practice this is with our kids. You know, and how quick we are to come down with an iron fist.
Right.
You know, and I remember God telling me one time after I just got finished chastising, you know, our kids.
You have something on your lip.
Oh, you want to get it off? Oh, I thought you was going to get it off.
I don't want it on my lip.
Anyway.
Anyhow.
But after I finished chastising one of our girls, and God, he told me, he said, what if I responded to you the way you responded to your kids when you messed up? And I was like, whoa. So I applied that to my wife. You know, what if sometimes when if I'm short with her or if I don't exercise patience with her, you know, what if God responded to me that way? Or the other question you can ask is, if when I mess up, because you will, it's inevitable. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to do something to cost the family some money. You're going to, whatever. You're going to make a mistake. When you make the mistake, how do you want your spouse to respond to your mistake? So that's the same way you should respond to your spouse.
With grace.
With grace.
Yep.
You know.
Not being harsh, not being judgmental, not being critical. Yeah. But in love.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, again, it's we should, because we are so forgiven by God. I mean, because we are given so much grace from God. Yeah. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's not. It should be expected of us to give that grace, same grace that was given to us. Right. You know, there's a parable that Jesus taught, and it was this guy who I can't remember the numbers, but like he owed like $1,000 to this guy, and he went to the guy he owed, and he's like, look, I can't pay you, blah blah blah, and the guy forgave his debt. But then there's another guy who owed the guy that just got his debt forgave. This guy owed him like maybe $100. And your boy was like, I don't care. You're going to give me this $100 back. You're going to give me this $100. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's $100. Right. I don't care how much it is. Did you borrow it from me? Did you borrow it from me? Now, he didn't do all that. That's just my interpretation of that. So it's like we get that way, though, a lot of times with other people. It's like we don't give them the grace, the same grace that is afforded to us. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to remember, that we're all going to make mistakes. We're, it just happens. It's a part of life, and it's a part of growing. Yeah. Hopefully, through life, we learn from the mistakes that we make or the decisions that we make that were not necessarily wisdom, at that time. And we just continue to move forward, and we work through it together, but that also goes back to why it's important for husband and wives to know how to come into agreement and to be on the same page, so that it's not a blaming game when things occur. That we're in it together. We made this decision together. So if you decide you want to step out on some sort of venture, God gives you a word, gives you a vision, or what have you, and I come into agreement and say, I'm going to support that. I believe that with you, and it doesn't work out well, then that's on the both of us. We made that decision together. Yeah.
So, growing in grace, we're going to wrap up this episode, and I'm just encouraging you to change your mindset. I'll close with this, and this is a statement that really changed my life. And talking about growing in grace and just being, growing with your spouse and just having grace and really operating in love. Well, I'm not going to share that time. I'm saving it for another time. You're going to have to watch the next episode. But anyway, grow in grace. The same grace that was given to you, show that same grace to your spouse. The same way you are forgiven by God, we should also forgive
one another. Yeah.
Jesus said that 70 times 7, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't, don't go calculate that. What he was saying was, it was a principle of every time somebody requires forgiveness, we should give it to them.
Amen.
So give your spouse an opportunity to grow with them, grow together, and forgive quickly and often.
Quickly and often. I love it. Yes.
All right. So this is Glenn
and Tanya
Coleman saying your marriage matters. So we'll see you next week.
Bye.